Hope everyone had a fantastic MLS week number 1. We are going into week number 2 now, and it's time for the overreactions to start pouring out. Whether they be from a great performance or a horrendous performance, people are going nuts with the prices. Don't go nuts with the prices. This is not that hard. 1 week does not make or break a player's stock. Whatever you thought of them a week ago is probably about the same as you should be thinking of them now. Maybe just minus a little bit or plus a little bit if they started unexpectedly or if they sat unexpectedly. Maybe you adjust your value a little bit there, but one performance does not make a great player. Just for an example of this, I went back and thought of the guy that fit this bill last year, the guy that everybody had to have because he had a monster week 1 and he was going to be the greatest defender on the planet. And that guy is Brezin. Here we can see Brezin's chart. He started off with a monster 100 score against Colorado, had a 46 and then a 78. So he was off and rolling in the beginning of the season. Everybody thought he was going to be the next greatest thing. Dallas was going to be cruising all the way to the playoffs. Turns out not so much. He didn't have the great season. It wasn't a horrible season. He actually did produce a couple more 60s throughout the year, but just not really what you would have been expecting when you were paying as high a price as you were for him. And by the end of the season, wasn't even in the team. The team doesn't even bring him back for this season, so he's now, I believe, in Brazil. But this is what I'm talking about as far as not overhyping one performance, not getting on board the train and just buying everything. You can see his price graph here of what happened last season. So this was all preseason hype over here. And then we hit the first couple games and his price skyrocketed. A couple people even paid like 0.2 for him. There's a bunch of sales in the 0.16 range. And then it kind of comes back down to earth a little bit. So don't be these people is my point. And then you can see that it completely falls off a cliff once it actually comes through that he's not going to be an all-star stud. One thing just to keep in mind for this week coming up is the CCL teams. Know which teams are in the CCL. So the remaining teams left: New England, Montreal, New York City FC, and Seattle. Expect those teams to rotate pretty heavily, especially the older guys on those teams. Don't expect them to play. So that's big names like Nico Ladero, Maxi Morales. I wouldn't be counting on these types of guys. They may have a cameo appearance at the end of the game. They may get like 30 minutes just to keep them fresh, but they are going to prioritize CCL. So don't put them in your lineup and then be surprised when you get a DNP or you get a substitute that doesn't do you any good. This is going to be a rather quick video, so I'm just going to throw a few more things that I've kind of seen over the past few weeks. People asking me over and over again, or different things that I see people do that maybe aren't advisable. First and foremost is E threshold teams. Do not stack those. You want an E threshold team to be super consistent. Stacking does not give you a higher total score when you add up all the different weeks. What stacking does is make it more variable. So some weeks you'll have a really high score, some weeks you'll have a really low score. That's great when you're trying to win cards. Horrible for E thresholds. You want a consistent, solid 50-50 every single game type of player. From all 5 of your players, you'll hit 250 most weeks. You don't want to have the guy that scores 100 one week and then scores 20 the next week. Last little bit of advice here: when you're setting your lineup specifically in MLS, make sure you pay attention to the home and away matchup. The home teams have a massive advantage. So if you're trying to decide between a team that's playing a good team at home versus a team playing a bad team on the road, typically you'd rather play the team at home that's better than the team on the road that's worse. So hopefully, if you're not playing in an E threshold, you should be stacking your lineups with players from the same team. Make sure that you try to make 2 stacks or even 1 big stack of only players playing at home. That way you have your best chance with that particular lineup. That's going to be it for the video today. Until the next time, Vamos United.